how she got to Madison, but she was from Mississippi. Her son was in first grade, and it was very, very complex. The mom was living with her boyfriend's dad, and the boyfriend was in jail in La Crosse. I don't know where and the father of this child was in Mississippi. And it sounds like she had kind of fled Mississippi, and like there was bad stuff with her family. So she was living with this boyfriend's dad. This little boy had a cognitive disability and was just one of the dearest little boys. So the dad, it's so complicated, had some sort of a breakdown, some sort of emotional psychiatric breakdown, lost his housing. So this young woman was on the streets. Went to Milwaukee she just took a short trip there, she thought, to see somebody she knew there, and was stranded. So she's got no money, no place to live, really doesn't know anybody. Somehow got into a shelter and somehow got a hold of me. And then I think over time it was the same kind of shelter system where it was day to day today, but somehow got the little guy enrolled in school, and then they just disappeared, and I never knew what happened after that. And it just breaks my heart. I mean, she was really trying to get help in all the ways she could, but she was completely isolated and completely just left there hanging. So I don't know, that was about 7 years ago maybe. So he'd be 12, 13 now.
Going into high school.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm really sad thinking about that.
I warned you some of the questions might make you uncomfortable. What would you tell a new teacher about homelessness and teaching children experiencing homelessness? A teacher says, hey, I just found out I have a child who's homeless. What do I do?
Don't fall apart. It doesn't help. Like I don't know, it doesn't help kids or families to just go into pity mode. That's not helpful, or for you to just feel overwhelmed by their life experience. That's not helpful. That's actually a burden to put on a family, I think. Of course, have empathy. Of course, try and be part of the team that's supporting the family, but do your job. Do your job taking care of the kid in school and teaching the kid and giving them skills that they'll carry forward. But I'm just a really strong believer, and I think this comes from my old ED teacher days, that feeling sorry for kids doesn't help them. It doesn't move them forward. You can feel bad about their life experience or situation, but we need to teach them new skills and coping strategies. So try really hard to stay in that. And it is hard, and especially when you're new and young and you've never experienced these things, right? But over identification, or like you were saying earlier, being that helper who just bottles it all up, and then you get, either you're overwhelmed, you have your own sort of breaking point, or you get fatigued and you stop caring. So trying to be balanced and talk about it with other people like yourself, or people in the homeless program, or your school social workers, so you can kind of be consistent and solid and there for the kid, and ask people what they need. Don't assume.
Okay. What do you think kids who are homeless are experiencing outside of school? What do you imagine or envision their lives like when they leave schoolhouse?
I think it completely depends on, I'm using finger quotes for what type of homeless situation we're talking about. So I think if you're staying at the Salvation Army, for a lot of kids, it feels like this. I've got a bed, I've got predictable food, I've got structure. I think for some kids, if they're coming from a really chaotic place, it might feel better for a while, but that doesn't last forever, right? Because you can't stay there forever. So I think there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of, not knowing where you're going to be, or feeling like you're infringing on somebody else's home turf, or the adults are all in conflict with each other because they're doubled up. I think that's where a lot of anxiety and depression can start to develop in kids, because there's not a predictability there, you know, and just the tension and seeing the adults who are taking care of you under so much stress. I think some kids just kind of check out from all of that. Every kid's different. So again, that's why it needs to be a safe place, because we each kid's experience is different, and I can't assume.
So I guess that same question, how do you think they experience school? Like, what do they see school as?
I hope it's the safe place. You know, I hope it's always, and I don't want this to be their only safe place, but I want them to feel physically safe, emotionally safe, loved and cared for, but also know that because of this is school, that we also expect something of you. So you're not just taking, you're not just receiving. It's a place where you can grow and develop. So kind of